A legendary name in a legendary game. Astralis is an organization that has seen the highest highs in competitive Counter-Strike. This Danish team has been a fierce competitor in the Tier 1 circuit of the game for the last 2 years. A few slumps here or there don't really define them because they have consistently bounced back time and again. But their last few moves in pursuit of being at the top, however, are certainly unorthodox and highly questionable. Yep, we are talking about the 7-man roster road that Astralis is walking on. Let's start with the timeline. Device, Dupree, Zipnix, the captain Glaive, and the coach Zonic are the poster boys of Astralis. They have been with the organization since 2016. Throughout the years, the team has lost quite a few of their reputable players, but that never really stopped the Astralis train to continue running over their opponents. Towards the beginning of 2018, Majisk entered the team, and the formidable roster that we know today was formed. On 22nd March 2020, the team announced that they would become a 6-man roster with S-Tag entering the fray. Minus some of the drama that followed, this wasn't really a very surprising move given that many other teams in the past have done this. What is surprising was when the rumors began pouring in of the signing of Jugi to make this team a 7-man roster. And these rumors turned out to be true on 11th May, and the surprises continued when their director of sports said that for every role on Astralis, we want to have 2 players who can fill it. Wait a second, does this mean that they will probably have a 10-man roster in the future? I don't know. I think at this point it's safe to ask, what the hell is Astralis doing? Let's start with the drawbacks of this 7-man roster, or I don't know, maybe you could call it a 10-man future roster or something. The first problem that Astralis will have to overcome is the substitution rules detailed in the new regional major ranking system. The penalties for changing a player between regional major ranking tournaments are a hefty 20% points every time. This means adding and removing a player will cost Astralis 40% of their total points. Can Astralis really ever afford to be in a place of losing 40% points for a strategic benefit change? Nah, certainly not. Moreover, the other tournament organizers have their own substitution rules that Astralis will have to deal with. DreamHack, Blast, ESL, Flashpoint, all their rules will impact the idea of Astralis 7-man roster. How do you think Astralis will navigate their way around this? Let us know in the comments below. The next problem is a bit more internal. Imagine Device not performing well for a few tournaments. He will be benched and S-Tag will be taken in his place. Now, given how big of a star Device is, certainly he will feel the need to be out there and proving himself to his fans. However, if S-Tag ends up performing well and the organization decides that the current roster is the way to go, ego issues may end up plaguing the Astralis house, and this could happen to any of the players. We will need to see some next level communication and understanding between the players for this to ever succeed. Another problem will be the fact that every player will need to practice strategies for particular maps with different players and different mindsets time and time again. Talk about a move that is certain to put some immense mental pressure on the core team and practice fatigue on everyone. Of course, if it works, then Astralis will be unstoppable. But if it doesn't, however, it will be, as they say, too many cooks spoil the broth. It is understandable that Zonic won't be able to handle the ideas for a 10-man roster all the time. He will certainly need assistant coaches, which will inevitably bring more heads onto the table trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. I don't know, will this become like a 12-man roster including 2 coaches at Astralis? This might be a bit wild, but only time will tell. Let's finally move on to the pros of doing this move. Of course, this move has its fair share of positive points too, so let's go over them. Esport means a lot of travel, a lot of travel. This means you're constantly on the road, moving from one city to the other, and you barely have any time to rest. This means sacrificing rest to pursue your passion. Having substitutes will mean that players can take some well-earned time off in between a long season and choose when they want to compete. This will especially come in handy for Device given his history of physical issues that have plagued him. Essentially, more players equals to less stress, at least in this aspect. Given that the players can take a break whenever required, they will now also have a healthy mental state before entering tournaments which they have specially prepared for. Substitutes will also mean that any player who's having an off season with the game and isn't really performing well can opt for a break. This will let him regain some of his composure and polish his skills before he can get back into the game. Moving on to the finer details of the game. we will be able to see some heavy improvisation with strategy with each substitution. Some strats can be hidden and created for specific tournaments with specific maps in mind against specific teams. The surprise factor can surely throw off many of the teams out there, and we may see some serious changes in how CS has been thought of for the last 20 years. Imagine a new player bringing in a new strategy every time he is substituted in the tournament. We are in for a wild ride. Finally, we can have every player choose with their comfort in mind a particular map that they want to play or any particular lineup that they want to play against, specifically tailored according to their needs and skill sets. You want to play a Dust 2 against Liquid and then take a break to prepare for Inferno against Furia with Device and S-Tag? Sure, Glaive, go ahead, go for it. More than just what this means for the team, let's think for a moment what this means for the game. Will 7-man rosters, 10-man rosters make 5-man rosters obsolete? Has Astralis unlocked something extremely unconventional, or are they immensely dumb to even think of this? Let us know in the comments below. We're gonna get AFK for now, so we'll see you in the next video.